right, our final segment with Director Scott Angel. Very enlightening presentation. Now I know why the O'Neill Marlborough and the Gordy Dells were calling saying, you got to see this, because it really puts people now in a position, because it was positive. They've seen it now and they sort of buy into it, and it gives them hope.
Right. And so the two things that move us, right, are hope and fear. And when you think about it, right, the last administration, when it came to oil and gas, when we gathered into media, was on fear. Right. Now we get to gather on hope. And it's amazing. And so today, when we made the presentation to SCIA at Cypress Columns, where they had chambers of commerce that were there as well from a variety of the communities, you could sense that, wait, maybe we're not going back. You know, we're not going back, as I said today. You know, this is a well-picked over province. We're not going back to the glory days of the 60s and the 70s for shallow water, because the resources have been depleted. But there's some more left. BOEM tells us there's $20 billion worth left. We got to just make sure we can unlock that value for the country.
All right, so let's take a look at the ancillary benefits that go along with this.
Right, so the one thing that we talked about earlier is that, you know, look, folks who in the fishing industry are concerned. They're concerned that platforms are coming out in such a rapid pace that they're losing their habitat. So what I have underlined here on this slide, an obvious solution to stranding of the nation's oil and gas resources and the loss of fish habitat and the fishing economy, all occurring because of the removal of platforms and infrastructure, would be into ushering in a public policy to assist the uneconomic platforms and infrastructure scheduled for decommission to become economic, all for the benefit of the nation. So again, you know, there's a lot of folks here. This fishing economy is a lot bigger than I think folks give it credit for. I mean, there's a lot of boats that are high-value boats here, and motors and mechanics and ice and bait and everything that goes out on a fishing trip. So that's another benefit, and it links our environmental side to our exploration side. And I think that's a win for Louisiana.
And it keeps our heritage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then the domino economic
right, domino effect. You know, look, here again, this is not my research. This is BOEM's research. I give them great credit for that. They basically are telling us for every $1 million investment in shallow water, the total economic impact, including the reinvestment of state and local taxes, yields approximately 1.7 to $2 million in additional economic activity. Again,
that's what I wanted to see right there.
Right. Somebody has a job. Somebody buys a vehicle. Somebody buys furniture. Somebody goes to the ball game. It rolls over. Somebody goes at the restaurant. Somebody buys
TV ads.
Somebody buys TV ads. There you go. Not saying who with, but nonetheless, there you have it. And those are the kind of things that we've been digging around. I think we have one or two more additional slides. And again, I want to give great credit to Senator Chabert. When I reached out to him, he said, well, why don't we maybe introduce a resolution to the Louisiana legislature encouraging y'all to do this. We did that. We got a resolution that was adopted. I have some of that here. So we're excited about that. We got that up in Washington, D.C., made a little bit of noise with that the whole state is interested in this. So that was good. Next slide. And again, the solution, it's not more studies. If there's any place in America, that has no appetite for more studies, right, it is Terrebonne Lafourche Parish.
Right.
So this is not about more studies. It's not about changing the law. You know, we realize that has challenges as well. It's not about changing the regulations. It's simply let's recognize and embrace and act upon the data, which has been screaming out for decades. That's what we're doing. We did a deep dive on the data. Again, I thought it was important that we take a look at a variety of data points. And when we started putting it together, Martin, the picture began to come in focus. Next slide. The Gulf of Mexico should not be managed with a one-size-fits-all approach, as it has been in the past when we look at deep water and shallow water. Next slide. One-size-fits-all doesn't work. One size does not fit all is the box that we're checking. And again, we're going to apply a water depth specific discount rate as suggested by BOEM, which will equal revised royalty rates on production from new wells only. Allow applications on a per project versus a per lease basis. We think that's important. Applies only to production from new wells. Must drill new wells. I have that 3 times, and it's underlined for a reason. This is not corporate welfare. This is designed to get a company to spend some money, and in return for spending that money, getting a reduction on the royalty that they pay to the federal government. That creates jobs. That gets boats hired. That gets pipe bought. That gets mud sold. That gets pickup trucks sold. That gets homes built, and on and on and on and so forth.
It's really like a tax break.
It's tax relief, perhaps one might. Under the Reagan model, that says if we provide incentives, we can get more. If we give away a little bit, we get more in return. And we clearly believe that's what will happen here. So we're excited about it. We had a great audience this morning at SCIA. I'll be in Lafayette in a couple of days. As Lafayette and Houma, those shallow water areas, we'll be talking to them as well. Now I will share with you that, again, shouldn't be any expectation that we roll this out and all of a sudden the shallow water goes crazy. We don't have a lot of shallow water players now. This, this should have been, the data suggests that 10 years ago, we should have started talking about this.
But you may be catching the eye of a younger generation that says, we got to get started somewhere, let's take a shot.
Right, so exactly. And when you think about it, what did they say, the old cliche? The best day to plant a tree is yesterday. The second best day is today. So that milk has been spilt. It is what it is. I wish certain people would have been in certain positions 10 years ago to make more of an impact. I'm not wasting my time in Washington, D.C. to make an impact for the nation and for an area that I believe has done a lot for this country, certainly coastal Louisiana.
Final question. So you put all this together, and the president, well, what's the president like when he's seeing all this information and he's gathering? We know he's on board. It's sort of right up his alleyway, and he sort of endorses it, but how hard is it to get all this in a point where it can actually take place?
Yeah, that's a great question. The data that we're looking at right here, I started working on this project as a champion probably 15, 16 months ago. And I've been at it, I wouldn't say every day, but certainly every week we spend some time on it. And making data calls and checking data calls, because you don't make public policy on wrong information. We shouldn't make public policy on bad information. Right. And so we have to verify, confirm, check, do all the kind of things, and then get to a point where we start to socialize it with folks to make sure that our folks in the Department of Interior would be supportive of this. And Secretary Bernhardt has been a champion, an absolute champion for energy production in the country. So we're very appreciative of his support. And we're going to continue to go where the data leads us. And the data leads us to a point where we have potential $20 billion of assets that are going to be stranded if we allow this infrastructure to keep coming out at the pace of 100 a year. And eventually we get to a point where there's not enough infrastructure to go back and take care and remove those assets that belong to the American people, those oil and gas and natural resource assets. So I'm excited. This is complex. We jammed a lot into a short period of time. And I'm going to continue to be across the state kind of sharing this information. But look, as far as I'm concerned, the glass is not half empty, it's half full. And it takes a little bit of enthusiasm and energy. And you know me, I'm going to bring it every day, and we're going to see if we can't make a better day for America here.
All right, well, Director Angel, we appreciate you coming by. Very insightful, very enlightening to the people around here, and thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Keep up the great work here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
All right, there you have it from the director. We'll take a short break. More Bayou time. Don't go away.